If you've just signed up to Xero and you're looking at the homepage thinking, where do I start? This video is going to fix that. I'm going to walk you through everything you need to use it in Xero as a small business owner. Not every single feature, just the 80% that will really help you stay on top of your business's finances. I'll cover the bank accounts, sales invoices, purchase invoices, VAT, and financial reporting. By the end of this video, you'll know exactly what you need to do to keep your books up to date and have a clearer picture of how your business is performing financially. I've spent 10 years working with UK businesses with turnovers of up to £10 million, and I use and recommend Xero to almost every business I work with. Let's get into it. When you first create a Xero account, Xero will ask you for some basic information about your business. This includes your company name, registered address, company registration number, financial year end date, and your VAT details. I'm not going to go through the full sign up process in this video because it's pretty straightforward, and the information you would have added can be changed easily later on. That being said, before we start diving into some of the basic features of Xero, let's quickly check organization details and financial settings, where most of the important information has been added. Top left corner of Xero's homepage, you click your name here, and then in this general section you'll see the organization details section, which is what we want to check. In this section you'll see basic information about your company. So starting from the top of the page, you can add your company logo here, then you add your display name, which is the name you'll see in the top left corner of your page, and then your legal trading name, which is the name on company's house. Make sure it matches that. Then you can enter the organization type, which should be a limited company if you're incorporated, an incorporated company. So if your company is showing on company's house, then typically it's a limited company. So you click limited company, and then company registration number, you would plug it in, take it from company's house and plug it into here. In the contact information section, add the postal and physical address here, and then scroll down a bit and add the email, the main email of the company. It could be the admin email, or it could be your own email, and add either the phone number or your mobile number here. This information will show up on sales invoices, so it's important that it's right. And if you don't put an email address, then you can't send sales invoices through Xero and send automatic reminders through Xero as well. So it's important to put the email address especially. Once you put those in, double check them, scroll down to the bottom of the page and click save. Once you click save, the box will come up saying change to save. That covers the organization details section. To check the financial settings, go back to the settings page by clicking in the top left corner here. Then you scroll down to the accounting section here, and you'll see here financial settings. So you click here. Starting from the top is setting the financial year end. So you have to make sure this matches the accounting reference date shown at company's house. This matters because if the date entered is incorrect, your reporting periods will be wrong, which could lead to you making bad decisions because you're basing them on the wrong figures. So once you're happy with that, with the financial year end, you go to the next section, the VAT section, and you make sure this information is correct. If your business is VAT registered, then just click here and select the relevant scheme. It could be accrual scheme, cash scheme, or flat rate. If you're not VAT registered, then you just click none. And then in the VAT period, you choose out of the three options. Typically, most companies are quarterly. And then you put the VAT number here, which should be a 9-digit number. It's important to get these settings in accurately because when it comes to producing the VAT return, which I'll go through in this video, you won't be able to submit the VAT returns online. Scroll down to the tax defaults section. This controls whether invoice and bill amounts are entered as including VAT or excluding VAT. I'd keep it set as tax exclusive because you want to, when you raise an invoice, you want to put the figure excluding VAT, and the system will add VAT to it. It's less complicated that way. And then we scroll down to the lock date section. Lock dates stop people changing figures prior to the date you put in this section. This is useful because once you finalize the books and you're happy with what the figures are, you want to prevent anyone going back and editing the figures. So then when it comes to the next month or next quarter or next year, you can trust that those figures are still the same as you left them. So for example, if you've done the books up to the end of June 2026, in this box, you would click or select or enter 30th of June 2026, or you could add it in like this, 2026. And then you click save. Time zone, make sure it's on the correct one, which is this one. And then once you've checked all these settings, you just click save here. Now that the main settings are in place, when it comes to sales invoices, the idea here is to raise them in a timely manner with the correct information, account for VAT properly and accurately, and automate email reminders to reduce time spent chasing outstanding invoices. Before creating a sales invoice on Xero, you should check the default invoice template. It's a default one Xero has set up. So select sales at the top of the page here and go down to sales settings and click there. Then here you click invoice settings. Here you'll see the invoice templates available. I've made a few, for example, for different kinds of terms and conditions or payment terms. So to create your own one, you would go to new branding theme here. Click there. This opens the invoice template setup page. And so here is quite a handy interface. You can see the changes that you make in the middle here. So on the left side, you would go through each section and input any missing information, and you can toggle on and off various points. Let's say you don't want the number to be shown, for example, then you can change that. When it comes to sales invoices, they must show the following information. It must have a unique invoice number, your company's name, address, and contact details, customer's name and address, a clear description of the goods and services included in the sale, the supply date, the invoice date, the amount charged, the VAT rate and amount, and the total amount due. Other pieces of information that you don't have to include, but it's good practice to include, are payment terms or payment information. For example, adding the bank details in this payment section here. So in the payment advice section, you would add bank account name, sort code, account number, and then guidance about what description to use in the payment. That's if you want them to pay you by bank transfer. Xero does have the option for online payments, but which we'll cover in another section in the video. And obviously the company logo, adding the company logo here in the brand and styling section. If you add the logo here, then it will appear in this corner. Just make the invoice look more professional. So once you've got those mandatory pieces of information showing, so we've got them here, as you can see, and you have a quick look at the template and you think it shows the information that you want to show to the customer. And it's clear, you just go to the top right corner here and you click save theme. They will save the template so that when it comes to raising the invoice, we can select that template. Then we can send the invoice through Xero. So to create a sales invoice on Xero, you select sales at the top of the page, and then you select invoices. This will show you the page that contains the sales invoices already entered into Xero. Under the invoices heading here, you click new invoice. This will open a page where you need to add details such as the contact, aka the customer. If they are a new customer, you'll need to create a new contact. So here you would click on contact and write the contact's name. Let's say test case. And then you would click here, create test case as a new contact. And the most important piece of information you need to add is the email address. So make sure you add the email address, because then you can, when it comes to approving and sending the email, you can do it through Xero system. Otherwise, you would have to do it manually. Add the invoice date or the issue date and the due date. Leave the invoice number as it is, unless you have your own invoice numbering system. Then you should change it. Add an internal reference code if you have one. Select the brand theme that you just made. When it comes to adding item lines on the invoice, there are two ways you can do it. You can create preset products and services on Xero. If you regularly sell the same items, you would do this by clicking the item box here and selecting create new item. The basic way of adding that line item is to do it manually. You would, in the description box here, you would add a description of what you're selling. So let's say, for example, 1 month of services. It'll be more detailed than that, exactly what services. Let's say 1 month of consultancy services. Let's say, for example, instead of test case, we should use this test. In the quantity box, you would add the quantity. So in this case, 1 month at whatever price, let's say £1,000. You would use the relevant account code. If you have one sales code, you just use the sales code. If you have many, then choose the relevant one. Select the tax rate, make sure it's correct. If you're VAT registered, then you have to choose the tax code, the correct tax code. If not, you would choose no VAT. It's your responsibility to make sure that the VAT rate you use is correct. If the customer's overseas, for example, it might change what the VAT code is. And depending on what you're selling, goods or services, and the type of goods and services, the VAT rate might change. So once you've chosen the tax rate, you would check the subtotal here, the total VAT on the invoice, and then the total amount due, and make sure that they are what you would expect them to be. To check that the invoice will be presented correctly, you click here, the preview button, and it will show you the invoice based on the template you just created. And then you can check through it and just make sure it all looks okay. Once you're happy with that, you would just go to approve an email here in the top right corner, and then it will open up the send email box or page where it uses the email address that you've added to the contact. Xero's default email template will be used, which you can amend as you like. The basic template is Xero's default template. I changed it to a different one. It's important to make sure that there's actually an email address in this box here. If not, then you need to add one. And here you need to make sure that the customer's name shows up here. So it should say hi whoever. So hi Mike, for example. Hi Mike. This has got placeholders pulling out the relevant information so that this is all correct. You can trust that this is correct. Once you've checked this all, and on the right you can see what how they will receive the email, what it will look like. Yeah, you can see what it looks like, and you can even see the attached PDF, what it will look like again. So this is what they'll get. Looks fine to me. Here as well, just to make sure, if you want to attach the PDF to the email and send yourself a copy, then you should. When it comes to sending yourself a copy, it's good to do it because Xero doesn't have a sent box, so you can't see what's been sent. So it's best to send the copy to yourself. Attaching a PDF is good practice, just because let's say they use a document capture software where they will forward the email to it, and so it gets added to their pay run. Then it's better to do it that way, because then they don't have to click in and download the invoice and then send it. So I would keep both ticked. And then once you're happy with it, you would click send email in the bottom right corner. Another useful feature in Xero is automatic invoice reminders. These can be set to send before and after an invoice due date, which should reduce the amount of manual chasing you need to do. To set up automatic reminders, select at the top of the page, sales, and go to sales settings, and then go to invoice settings again. And then, so just under this invoice heading section, on the fourth button is invoice reminders. So you click there. So this page shows you what you've set up or what Xero has set up on your behalf. Normally they have their default selection. I've changed this one a little bit so that the first email gets sent 1 day before the due date, then 7 days after the due date, 14 days after the due date, 21 days, and then 28 days. And replies go to an admin email. This will help you chase any outstanding invoices. And also if you click into the email reminders here, you can see the template email, and you can make changes to it if you wish. And yeah, make sure that in the email that you use, where in the send replies to box, is frequently monitored. Another feature is to enable online payments through Xero. Adding this will automatically add a pay now button on the invoice. The idea is that by giving the customer the option to use their debit or credit card to pay you instead of a bank transfer, you'll get paid sooner and therefore improve your cash flow. The trade-off is that there will be some kind of payment processing fee charged by the payment merchant. The goal is to make sure your invoice is accurate, easy to understand, and easy for the customer to pay. Now that the sales invoicing process has been covered, we can move on to the purchase invoices. In Xero, purchase invoices are called bills. The idea here is to capture all expenses appropriately so that your profit figures are as accurate as possible, account for VAT accurately so you don't overpay VAT, and have a clear picture of what is outstanding so you can plan your cash flow. Now, there are a few ways to add purchase invoices to Xero. You can add them manually, you can use HubDoc, or you can use Xero's own document capture software. I will show you how to use HubDoc because I think it's the best way to do it. What is document capture software? Simply put, it is software that reads an image or document you give it. It extracts all relevant information from it for you to review and send to Xero as a bill. To set up HubDoc, select your business name in the top left corner. Towards the bottom of the drop-down list, under Do More with Xero, there's the HubDoc option, which you should click. If it's your first time using it, a page will pop up asking you to authorize the creation of a HubDoc account. Follow the steps on screen to set up the account. Once you've completed the setup process, you will be sent to HubDoc's homepage, which looks like this. There are a few ways to upload documents to HubDoc. You can drag and drop a document here in this section. You can click upload document here, and either you can browse your PC by clicking here and browsing your files and selecting the documents you want to upload. You can send emails to this address here by copying the address, or you can use their app to take pictures or upload documents that are saved on your phone. I mostly use the email function because when I receive purchase invoices in an email from a supplier, I just forward the email to this email address here, and HubDoc will pick it up and have it ready for me to review. Any suppliers I use that do not send me the invoices in an email, I'll use the drag and drop feature in bulk. So I'll download all the invoices and then select them all and drag and drop them here in this section. So once you've uploaded the document, it will move to this tab here called the processing tab. That just means HubDoc is reading the image or document and extracting the information available. Once it's done processing, it goes into the review tab or the fail tab here. If it appears in the fail tab, it's usually because the document uploaded isn't an invoice or it's not readable. In that case, you would either source the correct invoice, or if it's not an invoice, maybe sometimes it's just a random email that's gone to there that shouldn't have went there. You can just delete it. So when the document is in the review tab, it will show up like this. For example, if we go to this supplier, it will show a warning sign next to it, which just means it needs to be reviewed. When you click on the document here, it will show this panel on the right hand side of the screen. This is where you can see the information HubDoc has extracted from the document. At this point, we just have to review the details in this panel. Starting from the top of the panel, in the transaction details section here, check that each piece of information matches the document in the middle of the screen here. If anything is missing or incorrect, add the information or change the information as you need to. Key information to check here is supplier name, invoice number, invoice date, total amount, and the VAT rate and the VAT amount showing. So in this transaction detail section, as long as it's matching here, which it does, you can see £4.85, total 81p of VAT, and £4 and 4 pence subtotal, which matches up. The supplier name matches the supplier name here. Invoice number is the same as the one here. And the invoice date is the same as the one here. So this section is fine. If we scroll down to the destination section, this controls how HubDoc sends this information to Xero. For this supplier invoice, you should publish it as a purchase, which has been set already. The status, there's 3 options here. There's draft, awaiting approval, and awaiting payment. You should select draft or awaiting approval if someone else in the organization will review the invoice in Xero. If there isn't anyone that's going to do that, then you can use awaiting payment, or you can select awaiting payment if you've already checked that the bill is legitimate. In this case, I'll be using awaiting payment. In the contact box, I select the relevant contact, which is pulled from Xero's contact list. If it doesn't exist already, then you can just click here and you can add, or you would exit here. But if the contact wasn't there, you would type in the contact and then click create contact. When it comes to line items, in this case, I'm using single because all of the expenses noted in the invoice have the same VAT rate and are related to the same kind of expense, the same category of expense, which is legal expenses. So in this case, single is appropriate. If the invoice, different types of costs or different VAT rates, you may need to select multiple lines instead here. Next, add the relevant account code here. In this case, I'll code it to legal expenses, but actually it might be better to put it into printing and postage or printing and stationery. Which code is it? I'll use this one, 45. Even if these settings are pre-programmed because you've already set this up on HubDoc, it's always good to double check that it still applies to this invoice because you don't want to have to go back into Xero and then recheck it again. The idea is that once it's checked here, you can trust that it's correct on Xero. In the description box here, you can add any relevant information if you need to, if you feel this necessary. And another point before we start sending this to Xero are these two settings here, save configuration and auto sync. Save configuration allows HubDoc to remember the settings for this supplier. I normally keep this selected so I don't have to enter the same information every time I receive an invoice from this supplier. Auto sync allows HubDoc to send future invoices from a supplier to Xero automatically. I would only use the auto sync function when the account code and VAT rate are consistent for the supplier in question. If the invoices can vary, leave auto sync switched off and continue reviewing them manually in HubDoc. Once you're happy with all the information showing in these sections, click publish all here on the right of the screen, click publish all, and there you go, and it's done. And now it's been processed. If we go back to Xero, go to purchases, bills, and then awaiting payment here, we should see that invoice here. So as you can see, it's pulling all the information from HubDoc. It's even attached it for you, so you can go back and check if you want. It's easier to check whether the bill matches the invoice. This is important for VAT because as part of making tax digital, all documents and information and transactions should be digitized, and this is part of doing that. So we're happy with that. Now it's ready to be matched with a payment that's already gone through the bank account or added to the next pay run through whichever way you make payments of purchase invoices. Now that the sales invoices and bills are in Xero, the next step is processing the bank transactions. First, you should connect the business's bank account to Xero through a bank feed. This will allow Xero to pull transactions from the bank account into Xero automatically. To do this, from the Xero homepage, select accounting at the top of the page, then click bank accounts. So on this page, you would go to the top right corner and click add bank account. On this page, search for your bank account here and just follow the instructions to connect the bank account to Xero. It's a similar process to logging into your online banking account. Once connected, Xero will pull transactions into their system every day. To view the transactions being pulled through, select accounting again at the top and then select bank accounts. Then you click the name of the bank account you just connected. So you click here, for example, on that bank account, and then it would open up the accounts transactions page, but this is not the page you want. You want to be on this reconcile page here. So you click reconcile. This page shows you all the transactions that still need to be matched or classified. Each transaction will normally need to be matched with an existing sales invoice or bill by using the match function, or coded directly to an account code by using the create function, recorded as a transfer between bank accounts by using the transfer function, or left unreconciled if you don't know what the transaction relates to, and adding your notes to the transaction by using the discuss function. The match function will try to find an unpaid bill or sales invoice that matches the bank transaction. If it finds one itself, check that it's the correct bill or invoice. If it is, you can click OK here. For example, in this case, that bill we just added, it matches. This is the payment related to it. It's £4.85, £4.85. So it's matched it automatically. You just have to review and select OK. If Xero can't find a match, click match here and search through the outstanding, in this case, purchase invoices or bills. If there isn't a sales invoice or bill to match transaction to, then you should use the create function here. This will allow you to code the transaction directly to an account code. So you click create, enter the contact name here. In this case, it's SendGrid, probably SendGrid, and then you choose the account code. Let's say IT, you enter what it's for, why was the expense incurred. Let's say IT stuff, doesn't really matter for this example. And then here you would choose the correct VAT code. Once you're happy with those, you just click OK. That's it. That's how you use the create function. You would typically use this create function for bank charges, for interest received, and for payments of tax, because they don't come with an invoice. So when it comes to recording a transfer, for example, with this transaction here, this is between another business bank account. You would go to transfer here and select the relevant account, which is this one, and then you would click OK, for example. And then when you go to that bank account on Xero, we can see that the related transfer should show as a matched transaction here. So as you can see, we just sent this transfer from the main account to this account, and as you can see, it matches up same day. So you would click it, and that's how you match the transfers. Once you've matched all the transactions, or you've coded them to the account codes, or you've marked them down as transfers, you need to check that the bank balance on Xero matches the actual bank balance. So you would do this by, let's say if you're on this account, the main account, what you would do is you would click the reconciliation report link here. We'll show you the reconciliation summary. In this case, let's say we want to check up to the end of June. So just click here and make sure this date here is the date you want to check the bank balance, and compare it to Xero's figures. This bank's reconciliation summary shows whether any transactions still need to be reconciled. It also shows the bank balance being shown on Xero. So to use it, first you need to set the date to the dates you want to check. So let's say this quarter we want to check, and then you click update here. And then as you scroll down here, for example, there are no unreconciled transactions. So what this is saying basically is that in Xero, it believes that the bank balance is this figure. So what you would do is you would go to your online banking and log in there and check the bank balance at the end of June 2026. And if it matches that, then you know that Xero has all the transactions that landed in a bank account. If it doesn't match, then you need to figure out why it doesn't match and add and remove any transactions that are causing the mismatch. Once the sales invoices, bills, and bank transactions have been input and processed, Xero can use that information to produce your company's VAT return. The accuracy of the return depends on the accuracy of the bookkeeping and VAT coding. Before using the VAT returns module on Xero, make sure the VAT settings are correct. I already covered how to check this in the organization details and financial settings section of the video. You will also need access to the business's government gateway account before you can submit a VAT return online. Okay, so how do you actually use the VAT returns module on Xero? First, let's start at the homepage here, and then at the top of the screen where it says tax, you click there, and then you click VAT return. And so on this page, it will show you all the VAT returns that you've completed already, upcoming VAT returns here. In the needs attention section, then select review on the VAT return that you want to review and prepare for sending. So you click here. This opens the VAT return summary page. There are several tabs you can use to review the return. These include the VAT return tab, the transactions by VAT box, and transactions by tax rate tab. So you would click through each tab to check which transactions have been included, look for any obvious errors and correct them. You can also export the return in PDF or Excel format. You may find it easier to export the VAT return into Excel and then check the transactions there. It's a bit easier than doing it within the VAT returns module on Xero. Once you're happy that the figures calculate the correct VAT liability or refund due, scroll to the bottom of the page and click submit down here. After a few moments, Xero will confirm the submission. It should also give you the option to download the filing receipt. Make sure you download that plus a PDF of the final VAT return by clicking here, export and PDF, saving it and keeping it in your records. Remember that submitting the VAT return and paying the VAT return are two separate occurrences. If the VAT return is due, make sure the payment is also made by the relevant due date. Xero can also be used to process your payroll. This includes adding employees, running pay cycles, calculating tax and national insurance, submitting payroll information to HMRC, and managing workplace pensions. However, payroll and pensions have their own setup, rules and reporting requirements, so I'm not going to cover it in this video. It needs a separate step-by-step tutorial. If you would like me to make a full Xero payroll tutorial, let me know in the comments below. Next, we'll look at financial reporting. Once the bookkeeping has been completed, you can use Xero's reports to understand how the business was performing. Before you rely on the reports, make sure the records are up to date. By up to date, I mean that the bookkeeping for the period you want to review has been completed. For example, let's say you want to compare June 2026 and May 2026. You should have processed all the sales invoices, all the purchase invoices, all the bank transactions, and made any other relevant entries that affect the figures, such as loans or other accounting adjustments. The reports that Xero produces are only as accurate as the information you added to it. For this tutorial, I'm going to keep the reporting simple and broad. I'm not going to cover cash flow analysis, forecasting, or budgeting. Those are more advanced areas of financial management and require separate videos, which I will be making soon. Make sure you're subscribed so you don't miss out. The two main reports we'll be looking at are the profit and loss account and the balance sheet. Let's start with the profit and loss account. Go to the homepage, select reporting and then all reports. And then if it's not favorited here, you'll scroll down to the financial statement section and click profit and loss. Choose the month you want to review. So in this case, I'll use June and then compare with the previous month. So just 1 month and then click update. It shows you the 2 months in question. So the current month, which is June, and then the previous month. To get useful insights from this report, we need to compare the 2 months and investigate any significant changes. We need to ask questions like, why are the figures different? Does the change make sense? Was it expected? And has everything been recorded correctly? So within Xero, they don't give you the comparison columns, but it's quite easy to add. In the bottom left corner here, you click edit layout, and then at the top of the screen here, you click columns and variance. So variance is just an accounting way of saying difference, but I'll say difference just because it's simpler to understand. And so you want it to compare June and May. So if you want, you can say difference between June and May 26. If you want to be precise, that's fine. So that's that column here. And that's in numerical terms, not percentage terms. So we want to see percentage. So you do variance again, same column for each box, but then you click this button, which means it will show the difference as a percentage of the second column, which is May. You can put percentage difference to make it simple. So now we've got the 2 extra columns. So once those are in, you just click update layout here. And then so now you can run through each line item on the P&L, the profit and loss account, and check for significant differences. Counts as a significant difference is changes on a case-by-case basis, and numerical value, or it can be percentage value or both. So for example, you could say if there's a difference of £1,000 or more, and that's a percentage change of 10% or more, then we should look into it and query why this is happening and find out what the situation is. In this case, with these figures, I think maybe 50% variance only, 50% difference from month to month should be queried. So that's only a few lines. So what you would do is on Xero, you would say, for example, here 581% difference. You would click into this figure and then find out why that's changed. And the same for advertising and marketing, IT and software and consumables, legal expenses here, and that's it. So those 50% changes you would check. By doing this, you get a better understanding of what actually happened in the business. And so once you've made this custom report on Xero, make sure you save it. In the bottom right corner, you click save as, and you save as custom. And you click profit, and then you can change the name to profit and loss monthly comparison. So next time, when you go to the next month, July, you can click that report and it will show you this automatically. You don't have to create the layout every time. So we'll save it like that. And then basically you repeat the process, but for the balance sheet. So again, reporting at the top of the page, all reports. If it's not been favorited, again, you scroll down to the financial statement section here and click balance sheet. So the balance sheet just shows your assets, it shows your liabilities, and it shows equity. Whereas profit and loss is just the income and expenditure. So again, you change the date to the period you want to see. So we want to check 30th of June and compare it to the last month, not quarter. 1 month, compare with, and then again, you can see each month side by side. Then you go to layout again, edit layout in the bottom left corner. You go to columns here, variance, same again. You should choose the same settings, difference, update layout. No, that's difference. And then do the same again. June 31st, percentage. Happy with that. We update. Let me save it now. Custom balance sheet, monthly comparison. So I've saved it now. The idea is the same, where we go line by line on the balance sheet here and review the largest and most unusual movements. If you want to use the same rule as 50% change, then you would look into these line items and understand why they've changed so much. Assessing the balance sheet like this helps you review the cash levels in the business, money owed by customers, stock levels, money you owe to your suppliers, loans and what's outstanding and how much has been repaid, overall financial position of the business, as at, in this case, 30th of June 2026. Following this basic financial reporting routine, you will get a better understanding of what's happening in your business. It also gives you a solid foundation to build a more detailed reporting pack in the future. So that's the 80% of Xero that you should be using as a small business owner. If this still feels like a lot to manage on top of running your business, this is exactly what you take off your hands. Book a discovery call by using the link below, and we'll build you a clear and simple plan to get your finances under control. And if you want to know everything you need to do to manage your business's finances properly, go and check out the video on screen now.